Hello, so I'm in the kitchen, because I'm multitasking, which ties into what this video is about, sort of. I've been really slow at doing the, editing the Paz videos, like, I'm just really bad at this. I'm really bad at vlogging. Because my wife's upstairs doing tidying and like, she comes in, I have to stop because I can't do it in front of people. So, even though she'll watch the video later, I was uploading one every week, and I've not been able to do that, and there's a few reasons. One is just time and kind of being really busy. A part of that has been busy with like family life stuff because it's summer and there's like real life things happening, so we don't have many free weekends or much free time at all. But then also I've been busy with this the script I've been working on. I'm working the script with various kind of competition deadlines, but mostly failing to meet those deadlines until like the last minute. But the other reason, and the sort of one I wanted to make this video about, is that basically the next one we're going to post, and even though I've said this before, this is quite clearly a story. I've gone through the footage. What they're talking about is Paz's brother has found out that this kind of stalker character has been filming him, and that's not a conversation you would probably have on camera. I mean, the conceit is that Paz will only have kind of real conversations on camera, and that's but yeah, once you're in that kind of realm, you're like, here are these two people talking about something quite serious and quite dramatic on camera as if it's just a normal conversation. It kind of, yeah, it's sort of it's A, hard to make that natural, and B, it's even as natural as you make it, it's still going to seem like this is a plot point, and that's fine. Like, we're kind of at that point now. I've kind of, as I sort of said before, we've kind of kept it real for long enough. I could have finished it a couple of nights ago, and I kind of held off because of Summer in the City, which is the big kind of YouTube gathering that I went to about a year ago. So this year at Summer in the City they were doing awards, and the nominations for these awards were publicly voted, and it was quite easy to vote. You didn't have to be going to the event to be able to vote for this thing. So I thought, well, okay, I figured I'd got enough of a following, even though I didn't have many subscribers. I felt I got enough of a following on Twitter, Paz that is, to be able to say, right, if everyone votes for me on this one category, then maybe we could get through. Yeah, the people we were up against have sort of hundreds of thousands of subscribers and Twitter followers and things. So anyway, that didn't happen, and it sort of made me think a lot about why I was doing this. How much of this is telling a story and how much of this is creating a character who's not real. One of the reasons I wanted to do this and kind of explore it was because it always felt like there was this sense of inclusiveness, but inclusiveness for the cool kids. The whole community, the whole YouTuber community is this kind of group of outsider kids. I mean, they're all kind of introverted and sort of all have various issues and things, and feel like have come to this as a way to express themselves. And yet within that there are the cool YouTuber kids and the rest of us. As much as I wanted to tell a story and make a piece of art, I kind of wanted to get into that group, sort of to fuck with it, I suppose. I think the whole Paz project is sort of criticising as well as celebrating. You know, this idea of kind of authenticity and someone talking to camera and all being very real. What is that reality really? Here's this person who doesn't exist and yet is now ideally in that group. Part of the plan was to do this for her to be a kind of Trojan horse to kind of get through into that sort of, into the mainstream. And also the story was written that way. I mean, this is part of the other reason it's kind of stalled, is the story was written for her to be massively more successful. I mean, I wasn't like, I was being realistic about it. I wasn't like, oh, we're going to get millions of subscribers by the end of this, but that she would be marginally more successful than she is now. You know, it was written to be this sort of Faustian story where she would get sort of massive. And then also I think a lot of her videos have been about this kind of rejection of YouTube culture. Like, it started with the ukulele one, which was really a reaction against all the sort of stuff that annoyed me about about YouTube culture, and then but I think that's kind of crept into it more and more. It's sort of the age video is kind of about that, the how to be a success on YouTube, so certainly some of the recent ones, and which kind of shows in a way that I've become more caught up in it than and obviously I feel quite bitter about it not sort of being as successful as it was, but I wanted it to be. So it sort of depends on your perception as well, because I always perceived the people who were writing for 1080 magazine to be part of that kind of core group of kids as well, and Paz is now writing for that magazine. That's what you realise as a grown-up. It's the grass is always greener thing, isn't it? It's the sort of the thing you sort of want to be in that group, and then you get into that group and you go, oh okay, well now I want to be over there. And that's also when I went to Summer in the City last year, that's sort of what I came away thinking, was like I'd gone to kind of promote this channel and had all these sort of hopes of like, oh I'll meet all these people, and then actually came away thinking it felt much more inaccessible. Like I think the idea of Summer in the City is this kind of it was kind of born out of inclusiveness, and actually I felt going along to it that I felt sort of completely excluded from the whole thing. Like this is for people younger than me. Yeah, I don't know, but I came away from that thinking, right, this time next year when Summer in the City happens again, I want Paz to feature in it in some way. I had this idea that we would film there, but trying to schedule it just became a nightmare, and I had all these like grand ideas for what we would do. I couldn't guarantee that we were all going to be there. I was like, well, there's no point me spending ages planning these sort of grand experiments. In a lot of ways this has kind of allowed me to push it to the next stage, because this was sort of my last hope for Paz being more popular than she is, and now that's kind of like not going to happen that way. I've sort of got nothing to lose. Now's the time to sort of wrap it up. Like, I mean, when I say that, we're kind of not like prematurely, because we've sort of I think we're about 10 or 15 episodes from the end. And where the end is still kind of up for debate, because I had this whole third act written out that was sort of set in hell basically, and did some very kind of tricky, clever things that I was like, oh, I'll figure that out when we get there. But in my head when I wrote that, I was like, when we get there we'll have all these followers and maybe I'll be able to kickstart the end bit, and like now it's like, well, okay, I'm not going to be able to spend any money on it, so I'm able to tone that down a bit. Also, there is kind of a natural end point probably within 10 episodes where we could sort of stop. So I'll sort of see what happens when it becomes obvious there's a story. Like, if we kind of pick up the audience from there, then fine. But I think one way or another it has to sort of be finished by the end of this year. I think that what I've got from it now, or the very least I've got from it, is kind of what to do next. Like, it's kind of, I've sort of figured out what the next thing I want to do is. I've sort of figured out how you can kind of use fake Twitter profiles to tell a story, and I certainly want to do more of that. That's what I've kind of taken with this. It's like, okay, well now is the time to kind of move on. Let's post this next video, see what people think, and then let's just carry on straight through to the end. It's all kind of written in one sense, but I need to kind of rewrite the next sort of 10 episodes at least and go, right, here's the first point where we could naturally end it. The thing that I'm kind of sad about, which is also the reason I wanted to kind of keep it going for a bit longer, is that like I was always excited about it from an audience point of view, which is how I kind of got through the moral sort of side of it, I suppose, is that I was always kind of excited for someone watching it. He could watch this character going through something and then send them a tweet and go, oh, I noticed this in your video, look out for that, or something. And then the character in this story would reply. And I always thought that was a cool thing. I'm kind of envious of the people who've had this relationship with a fictional character, even though they may not feel that way when they find out. But yeah, I think it'll be sad to lose that. So if you are watching this, like, I urge you to check out Paz's channel and go and comment, interact with her on Twitter, because probably not very often that you get to have a dialogue with a fictional character. So and it's not always me doing the tweets, so you don't even have to just imagine it's me. So, but yeah, so I sort of recommend you do that while you still can. I'll post again soon. Bye.